Alright, so I'm jumping into the whole Last of Us Part 2 debate with the death of Joel Miller, who previously was one of the most iconic PlayStation characters, but now he's dead, and he ain't coming back. Not only that, but they killed mine and many other people's investment in the game by doing this at the very start. I decided to try The Last of Us Part 2 just for the sake of it, and my gameplay experience was cut short, because I thankfully knew what came next. I've heard all the defenses made about this game. I even had a buddy who was arguing about this with me for several weeks straight. While I have not completed the game, I know what comes after enough in detail to know that it's not going to be a worthwhile experience. It's frankly embarrassing the amount of damage control Naughty Dog and Sony had to do for this game. One day Neil Druckmann says that he would prefer to have people passionately hate the game rather than be left underwhelmed or whatever, but then Sony turns off negative Metacritic reviews. Whether or not the game was being review bombed or not, it's not a good look. It tells me that Neil and friends expected the game to be hated, just not in the way that they expected it to be. But I think the anger is justified. The game was deceptively advertised, with Joel made to look like he was a huge part of the game, only to be killed off in the first hour or two. Now, I don't condone death threats, but passing off all of the backlash as people who claim it's overly political and woke is not a genuine enough way to look at the backlash. I won't lie, when I saw Abby, I thought she looked completely out of place in a post-apocalyptic setting. Where in the fuck did this gal get enough protein shakes to look like that? It's the exact same complaint as Kyle Reese in Terminator Genesis. The original looks like someone who just emerged from the wasteland of the future war. Then comes Jai Courtney looking like he pumped iron and steroids or something. It's unrealistic. I also think it's very likely that Neil and friends were fully aware that Abby and her strange physique was going to draw out complaints. And the whole thing comes across like they were daring people to come at them with this woman who has a macho man body. So the defense and offense against this game is one giant mess. And it could have easily been avoided by not pissing off players. Now, I made this video because I wanted to be a little more constructive than the previous time I ranted about this game. I'm going to present a bunch of stories where the main character is killed in an abrupt manner, but the stories are actually well liked by those who experienced them, and they stood the test of time without dividing people. The first is a Star Wars comic by the name of Darth, Vader and the Ghost Prison. This story takes place around 3 months after Revenge of the Sith, in which it tells the story of one Larita Tom, a half-disfigured Imperial cadet who, upon graduating from the Imperial Academy, is caught in between a coup to usurp the Emperor. Tom's personal mentor, Gentis, is behind the coup, and Tom is the only cadet he didn't tell about the coup. So when given the choice on whether or not to help Gentis or the Emperor, he chooses the Emperor. The story has Tom, Darth Vader, and another disfigured Imperial by the name of Tracher to protect the Emperor. When searching for a place to hide the Emperor and stabilize his condition, Darth Vader goes to the Jedi Temple and searches up the titular Ghost Prison, in which he, as Anakin Skywalker, was refused the coordinates. But Obi-Wan was let in on the secret by the Council. However, upon reaching the Ghost Prison and killing the oblivious Jedi guards who were unaware the Order had fallen, Vader and friends decide to let the prisoners out, and out of 200, only 33 remain. And when offered a pardon for their role in the CIS, they all agree to help the group. To make a long story short, the coup is thwarted just before Grand Moff Tarkin is executed, and the Emperor by this point has made a full recovery. For those loyal, Tracher gets promoted to Grand Moff, and Tom is made an Admiral. However, right after the promotion, the Emperor tells Vader that Tom's resourcefulness may make him a worthy successor. So Vader lures Tom to a balcony and straight up murders him by throwing him off to his death. The end. And at first, I was caught off guard. How do you make a sympathetic, recognizable character who was loyal to both the Emperor and Vader, literally forced himself to abandon ties with his personal mentor Gentis, and is met with a shallow grave at the end? You see, while I summarized the plot a hell of a lot, Tom as a character came to respect Vader, and began to see him as his hero as a replacement to Gentis, which makes it extra screwed up that Vader did not think twice about executing him. Trusting Vader was his undoing, and yeah, the character dies and you don't really hear from him again. Now, the most obvious difference from The Last of Us Part 2 is that this happens at the very end of the story, rather than the beginning. But in my opinion, it makes it more effective. The comic doesn't waste your time with a revenge plot, all for it to amount to absolutely nothing. Naughty Dog was so fucking obsessed with teaching the player how empty revenge is, or whatever, that players literally felt empty playing the game post Joel's death, meaning that at maximum, people only enjoyed the thing for 1 or 2 hours before they were flat out miserable. You gotta remember that you gotta give players a reason to keep playing to the end. And if all you can do is make them miserable and unhappy, then no wonder many people quit the game before the end. And a smaller amount meant the credits being like, is that it? So thing is, Darth Vader in the Ghost Prison doesn't waste your time. Tom's death comes at the very end, and the injustice of it all is never satisfied. And it may even make you hate Vader for doing it, but it actually adds to the universe. It adds Vader's lack of care for his subordinates and allies. And another difference with The Last of Us Part 2, the story doesn't have a sudden disconnect where it tries to humanize the decision. I imagine it was very awkward to be given next to no reason why Joel was killed, only to be forced to play as Abby, and then find out several hours straight of gameplay that, oh, her dad was that random fuck-off doctor from the first game Joel killed. You know, I read a comment from someone on YouTube who said that they didn't even kill the doctor, that they shot him in the leg or something, where he would presumably survive when he proceeded to carry Ellie out of the hospital as Joel. So regardless of whether people make the connection that, oh, alright, Joel killed a bunch of people to save Ellie, it's too little too late. The disconnect has already happened, and they still hate Abby, and by extension the writers for writing the story like this. A dual perspective of 2 or more characters on the opposite side happens best if normally the whole story is based around the 2 of them thwarting each other. Grand Theft Auto 4, for example, in its complete edition, features 3 protagonists, all of which are reactive to what each other do. Nico in GTA 4 Vanilla kills a character close to Johnny Klebitz in The Lost and Damned, but we don't fully feel it until the Lost and Damned DLC is played. And you, as Johnny, are told that your friend was killed by Nico off screen. That's just one example, but it works. GTA 4's complete story was meant to show how ruthless the criminal life is, and also demonstrates how the story can change from a different perspective. But you don't end up hating Nico for killing Jim. And at the same time, you still sympathize with Nico and his story. Nothing changes on that front. All 3 protagonists are anti-heroes at the end of the day, and I think I should also mention that by a similar standard, I came to hate Trevor in GTA 5 for killing Johnny. He has sex with Johnny's girlfriend, and when a weaker, drugged up Johnny confronts him about it, Trevor flat out kills him. And then he goes after Terry and Clay, who were supporting characters in The Lost and Damned. To the game's credit, however, they don't try to humanize the decision. They rely on other methods to make you like Trevor, even if it failed for me post playing The Lost and Damned. Also, spoilers, but you as Franklin can actually choose to kill Trevor with Michael, and that makes the most sense to me. So while it is like The Last of Us Part 2 in a lot of ways, there is a caveat that doesn't make you hate Trevor as much as Abby, and makes you feel like the writers were out to get you. And keep in mind, you're forced to play as Trevor a third of the time past this point as the third switchable protagonist. Perhaps if Trevor killed Nico instead, the backlash might have been more intense, but since it was against Johnny, a DLC protagonist, and Johnny's story wasn't as in-depth, it didn't get near as much backlash as it might have otherwise. By now you may have noticed a pattern here. The Last of Us Part 2 compared to other stories did things in the worst, most insulting, most disconnecting way possible, and now it's time we talk about Transformers Decepticons, a childhood game I played back on the Nintendo DS. I know you might hear Nintendo DS and think the game was just shovelware, but I assure you it's not. It actually has one of the best stories told on a portable console like the DS, which is surprising, and the developers at Vicarious Visions really outdid themselves. The story is mostly carried by the voice actors, and given the limitations of the DS, they did an impressive job. Based on the 2007 film that came out that year as well, Decepticons came out alongside an Autobots version as well, sort of like Pokemon, but the Decepticons version is going to be the main focus. If you haven't played the game, it's got the exact same setup and many elements from the 2007 film, so keep that in mind. So Transformers Decepticons tells the story of a rookie who was personally trained by Starscream, and after being ordered to track a Decepticon signal that originated from Earth, in what is later revealed to be Megatron, the protagonist, who can be named anything, but Wikipedia refers to him as Creator-Con, so that's what I'll be calling him. So Creator-Con meets up with Barricade, voiced by Keith David, and throughout the search for Megatron, Creator-Con is challenged by what he was taught by Starscream into question. Initially, when it's revealed to Creator-Con that the signal came from Megatron, Creator-Con refers to Megatron as a joke, who abandoned them ages ago.
Watch your mouth.
So anyways, Creator-Con under orders from Starscream assists Barricade in discovering that a human organization has Megatron hidden at an unknown location, and Creator-Con is sent to Qatar, alongside Black Cat and Brawl to search for the Project Iceman file that will lead them to Megatron. After acquiring the file in a couple of missions, and after Creator-Con defeats Ratchet, he speaks to Starscream, who reveals that Megatron was chasing the Allspark after the Autobots launched it into space, but he's keeping this information secret from the others. So basically, upon returning to the main city, Barricade cracks the file, and we get Creator-Con further question everything after witnessing Bumblebee being gunned down by the humans. He asks why the humans would want to imprison a potential ally, and here we get this grandiose line.
Because they're weak. Weakness breeds fear, and fear makes every ally an enemy. That's why we Decepticons don't tolerate weakness.
So anyways, Barricade reveals that Megatron's being hidden near the Hoover Dam, and when Creator-Con comments that Starscream will want to know about this, Barricade insults Starscream's character, and when Creator-Con asks why he thinks Megatron is a better ruler than Starscream, Barricade then says,
"'Cause you know where you stand with Megatron. Starscream is the type that would kill you in your sleep. Megatron would have the ball bearings to do it to your face. Now let's move out."
So upon arriving at the Hoover Dam, Creator-Con catches Starscream up to speed on what's going on, and Starscream makes his first physical appearance. He rudely flies over to Creator-Con, lands on him, and tells him that Megatron, no matter what, cannot be revived. Creator-Con questions killing the founder of the Decepticon army in his sleep, but Starscream affirms that he better not fail them. Now previously, Starscream was always a warm presence around Creator-Con in how he spoke to him, but then he reveals his true nature in his first physical appearance. This is where Starscream's true colors are seen. He's putting his lackey up to the task of killing Megatron, himself being too cowardly to do it himself. And with that being said, Creator-Con tries to tell Barricade about Starscream's orders, except he already knows. But when Creator-Con adds on that Megatron was chasing the Allspark, Barricade expresses surprise, and organizes a plan to revive Megatron, all before he tells Creator-Con the following.
"You made the right choice, Decepticon."
Yeah, I felt that. Anyways, with Creator-Con's allegiance fully to Megatron instead of Starscream, Barricade trusts him with the important task of saving Megatron while he's thawed out. Afterwards, Megatron is freed, and when Brawl comes in, informing everyone that Bumblebee's got the Allspark and he's headed to the city, Megatron calls everyone to the area. This is where the climax comes into effect. In the one and only mission we play as Starscream, we chase Bumblebee who possesses the Allspark, all before killing him. And Starscream now possesses the Allspark. Blackout comes in, demanding Starscream give up the Allspark, but Starscream kills him. Then Barricade comes in, and he gives Starscream the chance to stand down. However, Starscream affirms that he is the true leader of the Decepticons. But when Barricade refuses to budge, the boss battle begins. Against Barricade. Yeah, that's right. The game forces you to kill arguably the best written character in the game. And after Starscream defeats Barricade, he flies off, with Creaticon arriving at the scene, in which we get Barricade's final words.
Now, you see what it is to be a Decepticon.
After Brawl is presumably killed off screen, Creaticon confronts Starscream, telling him that Barricade was right. Starscream is a coward. Megatron conquers to obtain power, but Starscream just steals it. And after Starscream outruns Creaticon, and after Megatron kills Optimus Prime, Starscream then challenges Megatron to the Decepticon throne. Creaticon, however, agrees to continue his service to Megatron, and so the final showdown happens in Las Vegas, where Creaticon knocks the Allspark out of Starscream before slamming it into him, something which badly damages Creaticon. We then assume the role of Megatron, who pursues Starscream across the casino strip, before finally defeating him. Starscream gives Megatron the warning that someone will always be there to challenge his leadership, before Megatron promptly executes him. He then flies over to Creaticon, and thus comes the game's dark ending. Megatron basically says that he has no further use for Creaticon, and he even has the nerve to say that if Barricade and the others were truly Decepticons, they would have survived. And he is indifferent to the fact that you saved him. Creaticon, after blurting out that he could be repaired, Megatron executes him, calling it a waste of resources, saying that the weak only serve to benefit the strong, before Megatron flies off. And yeah, that's it, that's the end. Only at the very end do you realize how little your life mattered to Megatron, and how inexperienced Creaticon was with Decepticon philosophy. After the shock and injustice of the ending, it's something that makes you really think about what it means to be a Decepticon, and it's practically a central theme of the story come full circle. So just like Darth Vader in the Ghost Prison, this also comes at the very end of the story. And like Vader, you hate Megatron's guts for ultimately discarding Creaticon when his usefulness ran out. Normally, I don't like the villain kills his own men cliche, but it's in line with both of their characters. Vader killed Tom because he didn't want a rival who could replace him, and Megatron killed Creaticon, ultimately to demonstrate what it means to be a Decepticon. That only the strong are worthy, and the weak perish. Megatron didn't need you anymore at the end of the day, so he lost nothing by killing you. Again, it's a dark ending that drives home the meaning of the story. Now, just like Joel Miller, all of the characters I just mentioned are characters bordering on anti-hero and villain, and they were all killed off unjustly, and the player has to deal with that. But they're all far more effective than the death of Joel. And again, it's not like elements of Joel's death wasn't replicated in other characters before The Last of Us 1 even came out. Remember how you're forced to play as Starscream and kill Barricade? Yeah, everybody hated doing that, but it drove the story forward in a meaningful way, and it made you unironically hate Starscream even more, because in this story, he was a coward and a liar and a cheat, like he traditionally is in the source material. You feel absolutely no empathy for a character as shallow as Starscream. And thinking back to Abby, what she does is practically presented to us as brutal and unforgivable. It's practically too little too late by the time we learn why she killed Joel. It feels phoned in, and dare I say, pretentious to an extent. I just really hate the defense that players can't look past their hatred, or even that we can't handle characters we love getting killed. Because the thing is, I love Tom and Barricade, and CreatorCon, and Johnny Klebitz, and I didn't like Trevor, who did what Abby did pretty much to a lesser extent. You'll also see that I got more out of Transformers Decepticons than I ever will The Last of Us Part 2. A game for the Nintendo DS that managed to be unironically better than the movie it was based on, and characterized the Decepticons far better than the movie, and even all the Bayverse sequels that followed. We wouldn't have the game without the movie, but I am fully of the opinion that the cult following of Transformers Decepticons, however small, is earned. And they could have easily made a cheap shovelware tie-in game, but they did the unthinkable. They made a story that adapted the film and the source material effectively, and told a meaningful story from the perspective of the bad guys. We are still the villains at the end of the day. Barricade in particular, he refers to humans as savage beings during his boss battle with Bumblebee, and initially comes across as a dick to CreatorCon. So yeah, in conclusion, if anyone tries to argue that the Joel Miller death hate is just people who didn't get the story they wanted, I heard that argument about The Last Jedi as well, and it wasn't any less shallow. Hopefully you understand my point about main character deaths that happen abruptly. I'm JJ Plagiarisms, and until next time, what are stories from mystery boxes?
Under the mountain.